Hey YouTube, it's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome to another review of movies that are praised or misunderstood month. This is it. This is the 10-year anniversary of the fourth installment of the Die Hard franchise, and I wanted to re-review it and give my thoughts on things I didn't say last time. And that is Live Free or Die Hard, the unrated version. And yeah, once again, I want to say how awesome this movie is and some things that I, noticed again watching it again. It was great watching this movie again. It has ultimate rewatchability for me. Now, both cuts of the film are different. Like in the PG-13 cut, where there's a scene that he shoots the car into the sky, and it blows up the helicopter in in the first hour of the movie. And in the theatrical cut, he says I was out of bullets. In the unrated cut, he says another line. So that's one thing that's different. Also, in the unrated cut, they add more CGI blood when the guys get shot, and in this version they don't have it. And also, some of the lines are dubbed over in the P13 cut, and then in the unrated cut they drop the f bombs more, and you see it. And they should have just left it like that. Like, the one thing this movie did not need is to be censored, by the freaking studios so that they can make more money. Because this movie would have tanked if it was PG-13 today, because nowadays every action movie is like PG-13 unless it's R, like Deadpool or Logan or something like that. But usually R-rated action movies don't do as well as they used to, because parents think that they need to take their kids to everything, and that's wrong. But anyway, the movie still holds up. It's from 10 years ago. It doesn't look like a movie from 2007. It looks like a movie that could be made today. It's Len Wiseman's best film. I did not care for Underworld. I saw 10 minutes and then I shut it off because it does not have a better lead than this. Bruce Willis is a better lead than Kate Beckinsale. I like the action better, like the scene with the truck that is getting shot by freaking Air Force, jets, fighter jets, and they're shooting at him, and then the truck tilts over, and then McClane has to like drive it off to the other side. That's something I didn't mention in my last review. Jake McDormand makes a cameo as Lucy McClane's on and off again boyfriend. It's good to see him. He was in the Limitless TV show. He's done a bunch of films. I like him as an actor. You have a lot more scenes. You have Kevin Smith in a cameo. He has an extended cameo. He's the warlock. He's basically the guy living in West Virginia that has all the utilities and everything on. He's on 5 generators just to be online because the whole city is out of power and utilities. Also, I didn't mention the speech, that the presidential speech that they spliced together to threaten the state of Washington, and well, Washington D.C., because the other Washington is the other state. But anyway, they have archive footage of like Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and Richard Nixon and Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. There's a lot of splice footage. Nothing of Obama because he wasn't our president yet, but it's very scary because it's like, we will live in fear and we will not fail. And happy 4th of July to everyone. And then, it's pretty creepy when you think about it. The movie's ballsy. It shows a lot of things that could happen in a post 9/11 world. They even show a scene where on every channel, they show if they're singing America the Beautiful, and they show a image of the White House or the Capitol building exploding. And it was like, wow, what if that actually happened? And it wasn't. It was a facade. Which, see, they would not do that in a movie today, especially after all the terrorism that has happened in this decade. Like what's happened in Manchester, England, and London. That sucks. That really does suck. But terrorism is reality, people. That's one of the realistic things about this movie. The rest of the movie's not, where McClane's on the fighter jet and he's hanging on and he slides down and it's freaking explosion rama. It's freaking awesome. I love the action in this movie. Len Wiseman knows how to shoot action. The money's on the screen, like I said before. Justin Long is a great sidekick for McClane because he's the tech guy that does pretty much almost everything. He even saves McClane at one time halfway through the film when him and Maggie Q are having that epic fight. Which, Maggie Q, you're awesome. You're still awesome. You're still very sexy. I can't wait to get your own franchise. I can't wait for that. Um, but like I said, the flaws. Oliphant still sucks as a villain. I don't find him threatening in the slightest. He doesn't have screen presence like Alan Rickman had, or Jeremy Irons or even William Sadler in the second one. He actually blows up a whole freaking plane. This guy just shuts things off. He has a tech guy with glasses that shuts everything on and off like a light switch. And the technical aspect didn't bother me. The fire sale about how they're going to shut everybody's, utilities and everything off, and the traffics are going to get jammed, and the lights are out, and people, they panic. I know I went through something like this when Hurricane Sandy hit New York. I didn't have power for 3 freaking days, and we didn't get power until the day after Halloween at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was terrible. I was hungry. It was very hot. It was cold outside, and it was warm in the house, and it was just crazy. It was really crazy. And when things like that happen, it's really scary. And I think it's one of the best sequels of 2007. There were a lot of sequels that year. You had Spider-Man 3, Pirates 3, Shrek 3, and Rush Hour 3, and freaking uh the fifth Harry Potter movie, but this is one of the best ones. It's a fourth one that was done many years after the original, many years after two, and many years after three, and it held up and it worked. And it was a freaking throwback to the first three films. Yes, they censored it with the PG-13. I blame the studio because they should have not gotten involved. They should leave things alone, let Len Wiseman do his creation. This would have been R easily if you had not cut it to crap. But it's not like Batman versus Superman where the movie's like incoherent, the theatrical cut, and it's like scenes are you could tell they're split and they're cut out. But no, in this, the PG-13 cut still works. Both cuts of the movie are entertaining, and I wanted to say, happy 10-year anniversary for Live Free or Die Hard. You're one of the best films of 2007. Bruce Willis is in his A game. This is one of his best performances post the first three films. And it definitely was worth the wait. Like, you waited 12 years. That's longer than The Force Awakens after episode 3, and that did not pay off. That was just nostalgia berries and freaking pandering to freaking women and trying to remake a classic. You cannot remake a classic. This movie didn't do that. It did its own thing. So screw you once again, Lucasfilm, for recreating something a decade after the prequels were done. That's not cool. We want to see something new. This movie did something new. Cyber terrorism with John McClane. He's not stuck in a building again. He's not stuck in a freaking Washington D.C. airport. He's not in New York City. He was in Washington D.C. again, but this time on the run. And the one-liners are cool. Like, he calls this guy a jerk off. He says, "Oh, the last time I saw her, she was down an elevator shaft with an SUV rammed up her ass." That was funny. See, that was something different. It was not just recycled dialogue from the first film, and it did its own thing. It's fun. It's not a boring 2.5 hour fest where you have to wait for action. It doesn't bore you to tears like the Transformers sequels, where they go on and on and on. There's scenes that go on way too long, and the focus is not on the lead characters, the Transformers. Here, McClane is still the lead. He's not overshadowed by Jai Courtney like in the fifth one. He's not a freaking side character in his own movie. He's not in the movie for 5 minutes and then he dies. He's not It's not like what they did in The Force Awakens where they brought a character back we liked and they kill him off at the end and it means nothing. And then they completely forget about him. They didn't do this with this. They did not do that with this movie or with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I appreciate that. And it's a movie that kicks a lot of ass. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of freaking bullets and explosions, and it means something. It's not just an explosion for nothing. Like Michael Bay thinks explosions are what people want to see. No, we want to see a good story, a fast pace, and the lead front and center. Not 15 other side characters, which there are here, but they're not in the film that much. Like Sun Kane and the other Asian girl, not Maggie Q, the other one, or the tech guys the henchmen that are with Timothy Oliphant or uh, Kevin Smith. He's only in like 2 scenes, and his mother's in 1 scene. So yeah, and the movie has Star Wars references. When they go into his man cave, they show an Obi-Wan statue. They show a Boba Fett freaking standee and a bunch of other stuff. And you know what? That's more of an homage to Star Wars than Rogue One and Episode 7 and what Episode 8 is going to be. See? Kevin Smith knew it because he's got a lot of influence in Hollywood and he's a huge Star Wars fan. So that was cool. See, that's things I didn't reference last time I reviewed the movie. But this movie is 10 years old and I'm glad that it is and it's held up. It's very fun. I would recommend getting the DVD because the Blu-ray doesn't have, for whatever reason, it doesn't have the unrated version. Well, most of the ones in retail don't have the unrated version. The unrated version is worth having because it's the unaltered version that, uh, Hollywood, that freaking the 20th Century Fox didn't screw up with. And it's worth your time. This movie has held up very well. And like I said before, I love this movie. It's in my top three of the franchise. I love with a Vengeance is my favorite because it's in New York. The first one is still is a solid movie. I love it to death, but it's solid. It's my second favorite because the first one I love more movies in New York, and the third one is this one. Then is part two, and then five is dead last, but I don't hate it. And this franchise, it doesn't need a prequel. I'm sorry. You can't do better than what the first movie did. Explaining how McClane became a cop is just dumb. It's not needed. You're going to have another Rogue One on your hands. It's not necessary. I'd rather Wiseman do another film. Just saying. Because, when a film has run its course, it's run its course. It's like the Underworld films. Those should have been over after three, after the prequel, because you didn't need a fourth one and you didn't need a fifth one. That's for my friend Sean, because he hated Awakening and Blood Wars, and they weren't well directed. That's why this movie did better than those movies, because it's well directed. There is CG, but it's not distracting. There's a scene where a car's flipping and it almost hit McClane and freaking Matthew right in the face. It's awesome. I'm like, oh my god, they just barely missed it. And just McClane's like jumping on cars and driving. It's like, how hard can that be, huh? And I just love his attitude in the movie. Just that's what we love about McClane, about John McClane. And he's not a superhero. He does bleed. For that scene, he gets his face cut up. He's not freaking invincible like these SJW fan Nazis, fan fiction characters in these Star Wars movies, where they don't even get a scratch on their face. It's pathetic. You're not going to beat Manpower, SJW's Kathleen Kennedy. You're not going to beat Manpower. We are stronger physically and we're better action stars than your freaking fan fiction. That's all I have to say. And I don't care how that sounds. I love women in roles that they deserve, like Supergirl and freaking Elsa and Frozen and freaking Black Widow in the Avengers. That's a female character that's strong. That's not a super powered, overpowered SJW. That's what I want from a female lead. And this has a male lead. It's fine. I don't need a Die Hard with a woman because it's just not going to be the same. It's not. Because with agendas galore, it's going to be, oh, she has to do her nails, and she has to do her hair, and she has to wear a dress. And I'm sorry. You don't need that. Lucy McClane was fine in the movie. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's in the film long enough so that she can be in there to serve her purpose, and then she goes on her way. She doesn't have to take over the movie, which is good. Keep it with McClane, and like I said, happy anniversary, Live Free or Die Hard. You deserve the re-review because you're worth it. Just like the original Star Wars when it turned 40 this year. So that's all I got to say about Live Free or Die Hard without repeating myself. It's awesome. See it. Don't listen to the critics that said the movie's mediocre or it's not as good as Swordfish. It's not Swordfish. It's better because it actually has action and it's not wasting the cast, which is always good. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.